Hey, it's Rob Rush, and as a lot of people like to call this time of the year now, spooky season. It is upon us, and number one at the box office at the time of this recording is Terrifier 3. I think it grossed $18.2 million at the box office opening weekend, which is, for a movie that started out independently and now is grossing $18.2 million is great. And is the gentleman that you see next to me or on top of me, or however Zoom is having you view him, his name is Michael Leavy, and he was co-director of Terrifier 2, 3, also producer. And we're talking about a movie that he directed that was released in the summertime, but it's going to be coming out on demand tomorrow, the 15th of October, called Stream. So, Michael, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, I'm so happy to be on here, Rob. Thank you for having me. It's been a whirlwind, obviously, with the news of Terrifier 3 having a great theatrical run thus far, and
Mm-hmm.
really excited to parlay that with Stream, which is from our same exact team, coming to VOD tomorrow.
Now, you seem like a nice guy. What happened in your childhood that make you get involved in movies like Terrifier and Stream?
It's fun. My mother introduced me to horror films at a really young age, and it used to be a tradition where we'd watch films with my mother, my grandfather, my siblings, and just kind of you know, uh, got a love for it and, really a fascination for it. I also like comedy too, just for the record. Um, but horror has also been very, very good to me on the filmmaking side of things, and I'm very passionate about it. But what's funny is I wasn't really a gore guy growing up. I was more of the suspense. I was, the original 1978 Halloween. I don't think you see a drop of blood in it.
Oh, yeah.
Even Nightmare on Elm Street, you see some blood, but it was more fantastical. Leprechaun, so it was really Damien Leone when I got to know him
Hmm.
that he introduced me to the gore, and I became fascinated with it because just seeing the creation of how he does the practical effects. He grew up Friday the 13th guy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Halloween guy. So there were two different styles of horror filmmaking, but I really grew over the last maybe about 10 years almost, to grow a really huge appreciation for the gore stuff.
And I saw in the trailer for Stream that he does the special effects for the movie, correct?
Yes, yes. Basically, our entire Terrifier 2 and 3 team, for the most part, worked on both films. So, Damien did all the effects, also Phil Falcone. And yeah, it was funny. Originally, the script for Stream wasn't very gory. We weren't going to push the kills as much as they ended up going. They weren't as gruesome. But then
Mhm.
once you have Damien on board, you really, your mind starts opening up, and then you start coming up with really cool things like, what if we try this? And you can see the passion he has too. So then we ended up doing some really creative, awesome stuff.
I mean, and you're a young guy, and what is it like for you to be, involved, like the process of these movies just going from cult status to, blowing up over the past few years? How's that affected you? And is it made you been able to do movies like Stream and possibly other things?
For sure, in that regard, I don't know if we would have been able to do. I'll tell you this: we definitely wouldn't have been able to have Stream in theaters for
Yeah.
theatrical run. That's for sure, and
Mhm.
that's something I'm proud of being a part of Terrifier that opened those doors for me. But
Yeah.
also just for what we did with Terrifier for independent film in general.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get eyes on independent film if you're the masses. It's just the
Mhm.
marketing, everything. So Terrifier really kind of put a spotlight on the indie world, which is super
Yeah.
cool. That's the thing I'm most proud of.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, for sure, like certain people who wouldn't necessarily answer the calls, maybe a few years ago, are now starting to answer the calls when we call, and they're calling us, which is cool. The only word I can use to describe it is surreal. It's
Yeah.
still hard to believe, like you just said, we're the number one box office, hit in America right now, and that's just it still hasn't processed, and I think we're number 3 in the world currently, which is
Wow.
just insane to be a producer on a movie that is that successful. So that's nuts.
And congratulations again. And you're a local guy too, right? Aren't you from the Long Island area?
Staten Island, yeah, but yeah, New
Staten
York.
Island. All right. Well, you got to go over the Verrazano, which is always a pain in the ass, especially taking the Bell Parkway. But so you know what we're talking about. I just want to talk about the premise of Stream, which is out again on digital on demand on October 15th. It kind of takes like that going to a hotel and voyeuristic thing and turns it upside on its head. It's about a family that wants to get away and recapture some of their magic, and then literal terror ensues inside this hotel. And when my buddy Hank was talking about it, who put us together, he had said it's almost like the idea, and this is I'm paraphrasing what he said, was almost like an Expendables version of a horror story because you have Dee Wallace from The Shining and all those other horror movies. You have Danielle Harris from the Halloween series. You have Tony Todd, the Sandman. You also have Art the Clown himself playing in the movie as well, David Howard Thornton. So tell me about the process of casting and everything.
It's funny, we didn't set out initially to make an Expendables or Avengers, however you want to call it, version of a horror movie. We wanted to do something that had just a little bit more story than your normal slasher film. And we also wanted to modernize, bring the slasher genre to the 21st century at first. And
Mhm.
that's really what the concept was born, which was, Halloween horror in general exploits your safe spaces. Halloween did it with the neighborhood, Psycho did it with the shower, Jaws the day at the beach, Nightmare on Elm Street, your dreams, so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah.
So we kind of looked at this thing as a flip side to both of it, which was one was what is a place that people feel safe that we can kind of exploit, and that was a hotel setting, and then the other is also technology.
Mhm.
Everybody uses cell phones, everybody uses the computer, the internet, and we feel safe using it. We're using it right now,
Yeah.
but you don't know who could be watching you, who could be listening to you. So there was
Mhm.
a lot of that kind of went into it that universally everybody kind of uses. And then as we started casting for the movie, being horror fans ourselves, there were people we wanted to work with. There were people that we felt would fit the roles, and it just kind of fell into place that way. Jeffrey Combs plays Mr. Lockwood, and we ended up with getting Tim Reed and Tony Todd, and even Tim Curry has a little cameo appearance in the film.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, it's his first time that he's done a feature film in like 14 years. So that was really cool. And again, it starts with the script. A lot of people like that we weren't just making a slasher film that was just about the kills. And believe me, we have the goods, we have the kills, but
Oh,
we have a
sure.
little
Yeah.
bit more than that. We did some more character development. We did a little bit more of a slower pace where you get to know this family, and then we presented the kills. So we took a little bit of a different approach at it, and again, to separate it from Terrifier because we wanted to do something different. And so far, the fans have been really receptive to it. So we'll see how it goes with its wider digital release.
I like how you say, what can we exploit that everybody loves, and then just turn it on their head. That's hysterical. What is it like though? Like, being on the set, and you're the director of this, and also when you're the co-director, like, do you even kind of like look at some of these scenes and kind of be like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have had craft services before I did this or something like that?
It's funny. It's
Because for
just so
you, like you're seeing the actually how it's done, and where like the fakeness is coming from. But
right.
people watching it, it's still like even though they know it's fake, it could be
Yeah,
gruesome.
and now when I see that, it's weird because I'm kind of, I guess, numb to
Desensitized, yeah.
sensitized. Yeah, because I mean, there's certain things that still do get me. I go, oh, and it's just the sound effects for the first time you hear it.
Hmm.
That's I know the rubber foot, how it was made and all that stuff. So I'm a little bit upset that I don't get to enjoy the films like everybody else and go, oh, and
Yeah.
see, how if I would be one to vomit or run out. I don't know. But it's cool to see it come together, and that's what I really love is watching how it happens in the artistry and seeing Damien Leone being by his side in the Terrifier world, and then him being by my side in the Stream world is just seeing how all of this comes together and how it creates, because it really is fascinating if you kind of take just the
Mhm.
disgustingness of what's actually happening out of it and just really focus on it, on the art of it. It's really cool.
Now you said the stream world. Does that mean that we could possibly see a sequel or sequels to this movie?
That's what we're hoping for. We have some ideas. It's obviously set up for a sequel at the end, but that's not really up to us to
Yeah.
say if there's going to be one or not. It's really up to the reception of the fan base. And if they're clamoring for it and demanding it and really like what we're doing, then for sure we'd love to do it. We'd love the opportunity to. We have some great ideas to grow this franchise if it becomes one, if we're lucky enough, like we did with Terrifier. You
Mhm.
have to start somewhere, and we
Yeah.
can get bigger and bolder and obviously up the production value and stuff. So I'm hoping, because we do have some really awesome things that I'd love to try out and do.
And what else do you have lined up now in the future for you? Yeah, that Terrifier 3 is number one, almost like you said, number three in the world. This movie's been already theatrically released. Now we're getting ready for its digital service tomorrow. So what's coming up for you for the rest of the year and into 2025?
Yeah, we're working on a movie, Screamboat. which is a comedy horror. Steamboat Willie went into public domain this past year. So we're doing our take on that. It's kind of like a satire of it, and we flipped it on its head, turned it into a little bit of a horror movie. But again, it's got a lot of comedy to it. It's really a comedy at film at its heart, and we're trying something a little different, a little change of pace. Takes
Mhm.
place on the Staten Island Ferry, which is
Oh,
cool.
okay.
And yeah, we had some fun with it. So that's coming out January 2025. And then we're kind of leaving our options open to see. We have some comedies we want to do. We have some other horror stuff. Obviously, Terrifier 4 is going to be a thing, and Stream 2, hopefully, God willing,
Mhm.
will be a thing.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're going to navigate and see where we go from there.
I mean, well, I wish you nothing but the best. And if you ever need anybody to do any of the announcing, you just let me know. I can be the guy that says, now calling Art the Clown or something like that.
I love it. Yeah, this is great that we got connected because we actually are always looking for somebody to do things like that. So it's always great to add to
Hey,
the.
I could do that. Maybe we could even set up a radio contest where we can have a listener, be an extra, and they can get sawed in half by Art the Clown or something like that.
That's funny. I love that.
But so Stream is out digital and on demand. It's going to be any service that you are getting your movies from or television from. Streaming sites is where you can find it. Again, it's a who's who of not only just horror but movies in general. You have Danielle Harris, Jeffrey Combs, Dee Wallace, Tim Reed, Mark Holton, Tony Todd, Daniel Roebuck is in there, Terry Alexander, Bill Moseley. You can't forget about Bill Moseley, David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself. And I think I even saw that you made a little bit of an appearance in there as well, Michael.
I like to have fun. Always find a spot. I guess it's Hitchcockian of me to be somewhere. Yeah, I grew up acting and still like to have a little bit of fun with it. So always find a place somewhere in film.
All right. Well, Stream is coming out again. And Michael, thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me, Rob. Really appreciate it.